What's up, guys? My name is Dylan. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite obstacles, the warped wall. Now, before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming and to keep them free. Thanks. Now, first things first, with the warped wall, we want to make sure that we are properly warmed up. I like to do this by stretching my ankles, making sure I get my calf raises in, and get your heart rate up a little bit. Now, if you've never done a warped wall before, they may seem pretty intimidating, but today we're going to start on the smallest one that we've got here, which is a 12-foot warped wall. Now, before we go up on the warped wall, we want to make sure that we know how to come down correctly. Now, you want to make sure when you're going up on the warped wall to never turn around. You never want to be facing the opposite direction as you come down from the warped wall. It prevents you from tripping and rolling your ankle and having any other injuries. A good rule of thumb for me is that you should always be facing the warped wall at all times. So when you're coming down, it's easiest to put your hands into the warped wall, stick your butt out a little bit, and try and walk down facing the wall. Once you put all of your body weight on the wall, it'll help slow you down. Now, if it's your first time ever trying a warped wall, I would start at about 50, maybe 75% speed. But the goal is that you want to try and get more and more speed the more comfortable you feel on the warped wall. So your first run up should look like as you go up, just getting as high as you can comfortably and walking your way down. Then every other time that you try, I would recommend take a little bit of a break and then try and see how far you can go up on the next one till you can get all the way up to the top. Now let's break down how we actually run up on the warped wall. Number one thing as we go up is you want to use about 3 steps. I would recommend you always want to start with your dominant foot being the first step on the wall. So your goal is to get that non-dominant foot as close to the wall as possible without actually touching it. Now I'm right-footed, so what that'll look like is that I want to get my left foot right next to that wall. I'd say within 6 inches, so that first step can get nice and high up on the warped wall. What ends up happening, if your first step is all the way down here, you're going to be losing that much space as you run up. So we'll watch that one more time from another angle. I want you guys to watch as my first step is nice and close to the wall, and my second step is going to be nice and high. Now, the difficult part as we get up to some of the higher warped walls is going to be really jumping off that last step. Now, I will be making another video talking about the best shoes for Ninja Warrior, especially for the warped wall, but I will link some on Amazon in the description below if you want a few ideas. Most of the time, my best bet is going with New Balance or something that has rubber on the bottom that's almost completely flat. So over here, I'm going to show you guys how to do the 15-foot warped wall. It's going to be the same 3 steps that we did from earlier. You're just going to have to really push hard off that last foot. Now, this black warped wall behind me, that's the mega wall. That's the one on the show where you get $10,000. Ours is 18 feet tall, but the one on the show, they actually just raised to 18.5 feet tall. Unfortunately, our ceilings are not tall enough to have an 18.5-foot wall. But on our 18-foot wall, it's pretty much the same steps as earlier from the smaller warped walls. Instead of using 3 steps, though, you have to use 5. The reason why this warped wall is super hard is that the mega wall requires a lot of power and getting your feet in the right spots. If you don't have your feet in the correct spots, it's going to be really difficult to get up unless you're super tall. Now, some recommendations I would give about getting higher up on the warped wall is number one, make sure that you're taking rest in between your tries. It's really difficult to go full speed on the warped wall multiple times in a row. Just make sure that you take a little bit of rest, grab some water, let your legs rest a little bit because it is such a power intensive obstacle. Also, one thing I would recommend, if your warped walls are wooden just like ours here, make sure that you clean them off. A lot of time what happens is that everybody is using chalk for their hands and stuff like that, and the kids accidentally spill it on the warped wall or it gets all over your shoes. So having a clean pair of shoes or making sure that the warped wall is cleaned off and free of any chalk is also going to make sure it's grippy enough to get you all the way up there. Let me know in the comments what obstacle you guys want to see next, and thanks so much for watching. Peace.